Welcome, Rich Hopkins. I'll introduce you more formally in a minute. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
We were just talking before I pushed this live to Facebook. We started talking about speaking and international speaking and everything else. And I'm like, it's 10 o'clock. We need to get this live on Facebook so everybody else can listen in on this conversation. My goodness. Welcome to the second edition of a brand new, I don't know really still what to call this yet, interview series, a show. I guess it's trying to grow up and be a real podcast eventually, so maybe we'll get to that. But for right now, I'm just finding people that I know and I'm bringing them into this conversation, people that I know who are very positive people and who are progressing. You have to have those three components. You have to actually be a person, and you have to be positive, and you have to be progressing to be part of this interview series eventual podcast, because we all need to be around positive, progressing people right now in this crazy world. We are not trying to avoid that there are problems out there. We're not trying to run away from them. We are progressing in spite of all the challenges that are out there. So I can't just do this alone. All this enthusiasm I have progressing, I have to bring other people into this and get their side of the story so that they can help me exude this progression that I want everyone to capture and be part of, because I believe that you are who you hang around. And this is your one opportunity of the week to be around people who are positive and progressing. So let's get Rich properly introduced here. I've known Rich for quite a while. He has been a professional speaker for 20 years. He has a slogan that he goes by called "Win Anyway," and that can be applied to pretty much anything. Win anyway in life, win anyway in leading, speaking anyway, selling anyway, heck, start dating again anyway. I mean, it could be just anything out there. And I've actually seen Rich in the same 30 seconds bring an audience to tears and bring them to laughter. He explores all ends of the spectrum when he gets on the stage. Very exciting to watch. He has lots of experience in life. He has 6 kids. He's married to his same wife. How many years have we been married now?
Going on 21.
21 years. We just celebrated our 31st anniversary yesterday, Rich. So it's quite an exciting time when you get to those kind of numbers, right? It's exciting to be married that long. Stay married anyway. That should be one of your slogans. The other thing that maybe I'll ask you about a little bit later is that you are an elective amputee. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that or hear part of that story. And you've had 30 years in sales and marketing. So we'll get to some other things, but I just want everyone to know that Rich has been doing this for a long time. He has spoken in lots of different groups, 500 plus, motivational stories, leading sales presentations, coaching, all kinds of topics out there Rich has been involved with. And he's also a 2-time author. He has 2 books on Amazon. One is called Win, Place, and Show, and the other one is Go Ahead and Laugh. And I will put links to those books a little bit later so you can get a hold of those. And Rich also has a podcast. You're one busy guy. richhopkins.com. You can find all that. His podcast is, of course, the Win Anyway podcast. So welcome, Rich.
Hey, glad to be coming in on the ground floor of this thing. I can't wait to be like guest number 150 so that we can talk about everything you've done over the last 3 years when we get to that point.
Exactly. Well, the benefit of being one of my guests early on is that I will go back to you when we have landmarks, like when we get to the 100th episode or the 500th episode or 1000th episode. I can't even say 1000th, my goodness. That's what we're going to do, is go back to our original people that agreed to help with this and bring you into the big shows. I mean, that'll be so much fun. I'm looking forward to it. I want to jump right in by asking you a question that I think I'm going to get in the habit of asking this question and relate it to the specific focus that each guest has, because it's really on the top of everyone's mind. You always hear speakers say, they get on stage and they say, this is the best time to own a business. There's never been a better time in history than to, I don't know, I mean, work for Walmart. I mean, any stage you see, somebody is eventually going to say, this is the best time, you should be doing this. So I want to ask you that question. Why do you feel right now is the best time with all the challenges we have? Why is right now the best time to be involved with public speaking?
Sure. I've been hearing that line for at least 25 years. The first time I ever picked up a sales book or motivational book, heard Zig Ziglar at a Motivate Me seminar back in 1995, right here in Denver. Everybody has said it. And the reason is because there's no better time to start than now. I mean, if you wait, then okay, well, I guess the best time to start is tomorrow. But you can't go in the past. You can't look back and think, oh, well, it would have been better for me to start back then, because you can't. So there's no point. You start right where you are. And there are lots of statistics that when the economy's down, more millionaires and billionaires are created than at any other time. But the key really isn't whether it's the best time. The key is whether or not you're going to start at all. And so you got to start now. Now, in terms of speaking specifically, right now, okay, people aren't traveling that much to speak. There are some that'll fly to speak, but for the most part, we're all meeting virtually, just like you and I are right now. And I can meet with you here in Denver now, and then I can go speak in India when we're done, and then I can go speak in Brazil after that, and I don't have to travel. I save an incredible amount of money and time and wear and tear on my body. I'm able to give presentations that are still high quality to people who are interested anywhere in the world that wants to connect with me. So for you as a speaker, you've suddenly created this flexibility to where you can speak, to whom you can speak, and you've decreased your potential overhead by a tremendous amount.
Yeah. Well, one of the ways that I was promoting this originally was the fact that while all of my professional speaking friends and clients that had speaking gigs all through spring of 2020, well, they all got canceled. All the speaking gigs got canceled. There's no place you could go when COVID hit. And you did the exact opposite. You spoke at 125 places between COVID and now, and we're still in August. So I want to bring that into the conversation, but not quite yet. We'll reveal your secret to doing that a little bit later. But just right now, I'd like you to speak to the people that have thought about this. I mean, public speaking, they know that if they could just get in front of people and talk about the problem that they solve, that their business would go up. I mean, speaking to me is the number one way that I generate new clients. If I want to open the spigot, all I have to do is get in front of more people, and all of a sudden I get more sales. But what was your story? What was the pivotal moment you had when you finally realized, I got to do this. I've got to get in front of people and speak. It finally has to happen.
Well, it's been progressive over the last 20 years. I've been in front of big stages 15 years ago, and then I went years without being in front of a big stage. It's a matter of believing in yourself and just making the choices you need to make to be able to get in front of people. You may know you have a message, but sometimes you can get lost inside yourself. And last week you felt really good about your message. And this week, maybe you don't feel so good about your message. And that can be affected by what's going on in your life, the stresses with finances, the stresses in the world. Depending on the type of person you are, some of the things that you have surrounding you in terms of family, maybe you have depression issues, maybe you have financial goals that you need to meet every month. And all those things can be obstacles, not just towards doing what you need to do what you want to do, but they can be mental obstacles as you think, well, I can't even do this, so how could I do that? How can I follow my dream? How can I give my message if I'm not necessarily the success that I'm trying to help other people be? But the thing is that our message is still just as important in the down times as it is in the up times, both in the world and within ourselves. Because if we're able to be using our message, to be following our message, to be walking in our message in both the down and the up times, then we have the valid ability to help other people walk the message in their down times and up times. So you have to decide that the message is more important necessarily than your circumstances or how you feel. You have to focus on the audience that needs to hear the message, because the audience is always there. The audience is always available if you reach out to them, if you go find them, and then your message will still be just as valid no matter what's going on in your life.
Yeah, that's a real aligned statement you just made with what I suggest to people too. And my focus is getting people to write their nonfiction book to help them build their business. And as a result of having a great book, they wind up getting into speaking. And of course, then there's the whole internet marketing component. So my statement to them is that you're going to have peaks and troughs in your business and writing your book, and you're saying in your speaking as well, thinking about your message. But if your message is important enough for you to get out there to the world, that is what's going to keep you steady through the whole time. So that's a really good statement that you made. I hope people really pay attention to that. It's that message that carries you through and gets you through the troughs. We're kind of in a trough right now, but it's that message that people need to hear. That's such a great statement. I want to ask you too, on a more of a global, broad, looking at the forest kind of thing. I love to see how industries change, and the speaking industry has surely changed in the past 10 years, let alone the past 20 and 30 years. But it's funny how some things, no matter what happens in the economy or just life change, people change, culture changes, whatever it is, some things stay the same. So I'd like for you to comment, because a lot of people they just look at the speaking industry and they're like, well, it's over, it's done. There's no way this can happen anymore. What do you think is still the same about public speaking?
Well, the speaking industry is never going to be done. It's simply going to be changed in terms of how it's done, because we always need an outside voice. That's why even motivational coaches and physical trainers have motivational coaches themselves, have physical trainers themselves. Even Michael Jordan had a coach, to use a very old example, because we always need that outside perspective. And that's what speakers provide to companies, to associations, to schools, to any audience. We can provide an outside perspective with outside examples, an outside voice that they aren't already bored of. That's the problem with in-company situations, is that people can only hear from their boss and their CEO so much before they just turn it off. But if you're able to create an event, create some excitement, and typically that's in person, but now you can even do that online, and we're learning how to do it online better and better daily. Things that weren't working 2 days ago, we suddenly have found a way to make work. I mean, it's literally that fast. I've been attending a convention this week that has had to be agile and make changes as they go. And they've got 51,000 people registered for their event. And so they're having to stay on their toes to keep people excited.
Wow.
Those audiences exist, and the speaking industry is still going to be here. The question is, are you going to be willing as a speaker to be agile and to change as the industry changes, so that you can stay in that spot in the industry that maybe you've been in, or that spot that you want to get to, but suddenly saw it move because of everything that's happened?
Well, what are some of the things that you are seeing that have changed, that you wouldn't use that specific technique today where you would have 10 years ago? It worked every time 10 years ago, but now everything's different, so don't even try it. What's the most recent thing you can think of that has changed technique wise?
Well, if we step away from the simple change of how everything is now on Zoom or on Google Meet, and we look at actual speaking techniques, the biggest change I've seen is the want of the audience for something authentic. You know, back in the days of the greats, the Jim Rohns, the Les Browns, the Zig Ziglars, we heard parable after parable after parable, stories that were created to make a point that may or may not have been true, stories that were presented to be true that weren't true. Say the story of the man who was caught in the train car. It was a refrigeration unit, and he couldn't get out. And he was so sure that he was going to freeze to death that when they found him the next day, he had indeed frozen to death, despite the fact that the car wasn't actually turned on. I've heard that so many times from so many different motivational speakers and preachers over the years, and the story never happened. It's simply not true. Now, does it make a point? Sort of, but it's not going to make the point as strongly as if you can have a story that is actually true. If you can find a third-party story, an event where somebody actually did talk themselves into something happening to them that is tragic. Hopefully it's not death, but maybe it is. Those types of parable stories, the old starfish stories about, oh, well, I helped that one, where the child is defending to his father why he would throw one at a time when there are thousands on the beach. We're tired of hearing those. We want to hear things from reality. We want to hear something new, and we want to know that it's the truth, because the truth is something that we can anchor our actions in, not just a bunch of parables. That's the biggest change I see in what audiences want today, and in how speakers can differentiate themselves, because they're not giving the same parables speakers gave 20 years ago, or that the speaker that's coming up after them might give. You're coming up with original stories, both from your life and from the world as you perceive it, rather than the same old stories that we've heard over and over and over.
That is like $1 million suggestion right there. That is worth watching this interview 10 times. I mean, in time that you're spending right now, that's worth the whole thing right there. I would have never thought of that, by the way. I mean, I've been a speaker for almost as long as you, 15 years anyway, and I would have never thought of that would be the thing that you would pick out as being something that you just really don't want to do anymore. And that goes to the importance of, if you're going to get in this business, you really need to hang around some people who know that, know the difference between what people were expecting before and what they are looking for now, and what people, the main part of the audience, would think as cliche. And the last thing you want to do is go up there and present something that's cliche. My goodness. I've always been under the the knowledge from what people have told me that those stories are not good anymore. You can't use those kind of stories, but even turn it around and suggest that people have to walk out of the room being able to do something. You need to give them steps to follow. People are no longer interested in just hearing the anecdotes. They want steps they can follow, even if they're starting when they're in the audience, still listening to the speaker. All right, everybody get on your cell phone, do step 1 right now. You've accomplished something. But that's what audiences are wanting to do. They're wanting, okay, give me an example of something with a story, but then allow me to do something. So I think every new speaker really needs to have somebody that they can go to that can tell them that and instruct them through that process. Tell me an example of someone who's coached you back in your early days. How did that help you?
Well, I worked with a man named Tom Cantrell. I was a young Toastmaster, and I had started competing, and I finally got to the district level, which is the top level for the evaluation contest, where you listen to a speaker and then you give a critique, and 5 or 6 other people also give a critique, and the judges vote as to who gave the best critique. And at the end of that conference, I won first place. It was my first ever district Toastmasters trophy. And as I walked to the back of the room after accepting my award, he came up to me. I had no idea who he was. And he said, "I'm going to coach you in the World Championship of Public Speaking." I'm like, "What?" Now, I knew what the World Championship of Public Speaking was. I had competed in the spring, but got lost going to one of the contests. So I never got past my first contest level. So I knew what he was talking about, but I didn't know him or what he had done. He turned out to be a previous district winner a couple of times who had placed at the semifinal level. And he had also competed against a world champion from our district at that time, Morgan MacArthur, at the district level. So he knew what he was doing. But I got all this advice from the people around me telling me not to work with him because he made people into little Tom Cantrells, which made me want to work with him, not because I wanted to become a little Tom Cantrell, but because I knew I had the personality that would fight that. I would let him guide me, but I would argue with him. Oh, you talk to him. Boy, would I argue with him until we found middle ground, until we either he convinced me or I convinced him that he or I were right. And the arguing, the going back and forth was one of the biggest strong points of that relationship. Then I emailed him yesterday. We still work together. And that back and forth and the respect we have for each other helped transform me from just somebody who got up and used some charisma and some good humor when I spoke to someone who really was able to craft his words, who was able to write something and edit something. And I don't credit him just with my ability to speak, but to speak concisely, to do well in the overall Toastmaster speech contest, but also to write the books that I've written, to put those together. I've written books for myself. I've written a book for my wife. I've written books for other people, put those together. If I hadn't learned the advanced editing skills in both speaking and writing from Tom, I wouldn't have been able to do any of those things.
Huh. That's great. That's from great history. So how does that translate? Because I know you coach other speakers and help them with their presentations. How does that experience translate to helping other people to build their speaking platform and get them out into the speaking world?
Well, really using some of the techniques he's taught me without necessarily having the same personality he has helped me. I mean, the way I approach coaching people is really finding out exactly where they are right now. You know, a lot of coaches, they have this set program, it's cookie cutter, you go to them and you walk through these steps. For me, yeah, I have steps, I have formulas, I have things that you need to do, but depending on who you are and where you're at, you may not be ready for the same steps that my other client is doing.
Good point.
So
Sure.
we have to find out where you are, what you want to do, and then really dig into who you are so that we can find the message that you really want to deliver. And sometimes I'm working with people who have no message, no idea. They just know they want to speak. Sometimes I'm working with people who think they have a message, but need that message to be honed, tweaked.
So that the audience gives a crap, right? I mean,
Right.
some people have messages. It's like, so who cares?
And then I have people who have messages that are great, but they don't feel they're strong enough as presenters. And so we start with their presentation skills, and we go forward with their marketing skills and teaching them how to get out there and get in front of people so that they actually have an audience to speak to. Because it's great to have a wonderful message, to be able to get in front of a free audience and speak. But if you want more than that, you need to understand the marketing that is involved in it. That's the number one obstacle my clients tend to have. Is either they don't understand when they come to me, or they're not willing to accept after they're with me that becoming a professional speaker, making money at this, is 90% marketing and 10% speaking.
Wow, 90% marketing. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, well, I'm going to have you give the viewers here an opportunity for them to get in touch with you in just a minute. But I want to come back to my original teaser that I brought people in. Let's get to that. So 125. See, that's what's great about you, Rich, is that you're not just a speaking coach. You're out there speaking. And that's not just speaking, you're speaking a lot. I mean, 125 places, and that's in less than 6 months. I mean, that's a lot of speaking, man. You must have been doing three a day or something. But tell us what happened here. How did you get 125 speaking gigs?
There were times I was doing up to 4 a day, and sometimes that started at 3:30 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
When the quarantine hit, I had just given a speech via Zoom to an online club in Spokane, Washington, which is one of my old districts in Toastmasters. And I thought, wow, okay, I can't go anywhere. Even my own club doesn't meet anymore. And there are clubs all over the world that now are going to have to meet by Zoom. And some of them need speakers. Some of them are going to need just people to attend their Toastmasters clubs, because a lot of members may not want to get on Zoom or whatever platform they're on to join the meeting. So it's changing the face of Toastmasters, especially at that point when it was still brand new. So I started to think, well, how could I help? And the answer for me was to go out and offer myself as a speaker or an evaluator at a club meeting. And to make it fun, I turned it into a goal for myself, a little contest to see if I could get to, at that time, all 120 districts around the world in Toastmasters. And I thought, yeah, I'll make it to 40 or 50. Maybe I'll make it to half of them. So what I did is I just did video lives on Facebook, on my own Facebook page, and then I shared them to the official Toastmasters website, and I told people what I wanted to do. I just want to speak or evaluate. And I figured I'd give a lot of 5 to 7 minute regular Toastmaster speeches. I'd evaluate folks for 2 to 3 minutes, but I would provide value. And I did a lot of that, but I also got invited to give workshops, to give keynotes. Probably 30 of those 120, which turned into 124 districts after July 1st when they added districts. And it's probably gone up to about 140 overall speaking opportunities, because a lot of districts have invited me back for other clubs or other events.
Sure.
But a good third of all of those opportunities have been 30 to 45 minutes long, where I'm giving keynotes or workshops on humor or workshops on evaluation, workshops on leadership. So it's given me the opportunity to help these districts, but also to meet all these people, to expose myself. I guess we shouldn't be exposed, but to get myself in touch with all these people around the world so they know who I am, what I can provide for them. And I've seen my book sales go up, and I've seen people contacting me to do more and more events. And for me personally, it's helped increase my ability to speak. It's helped me perfect what I do on Zoom. It's helped inspire me to do more with my speaking than I've done over the last couple of years, because I'm in a transition mode right now where my kids are moving out and I have more time, and I'm going to be out there speaking more. And a lot of it's going to be here on this platform. So there's nothing like 140 opportunities on Zoom to find out what works and what doesn't. It's like right now, I have a pad of paper in front of my screen so that all I can do is look at the green dot. Because I got so much feedback that I was always looking down at people or looking and not making eye contact. So now I don't even look at people on my screen. It's just, so that's how I got those opportunities. I just said, hey, I want to do this. If you would like to invite me, email me or put something in this Facebook thread.
Sure.
And it took from the middle of March until really the middle of July to get the first 120, and then until the beginning of August to get the full 124 districts that make up Toastmasters.
Wow. And I would think that that experience applies to anybody watching this, even if you're not a member of Toastmasters. There are so many organizations out there, so many professional clubs, so many meetup groups that are all meeting online now. You could apply the same technique to getting out to so many. You're right, 90% of it is marketing. I mean, there's some, did you say 90% or 80%?
90%. It's probably more like 95.
95.
I don't want to discourage people. But I would think of it, if you're a member of an association, you suddenly don't have to fly to all the different association meetings all over the country. All you have to do is contact them and offer yourself as a speaker.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And boom, you get up, you wear shorts like I am right now, and what is it? Party on the bottom, professional on the top,
yeah.
And go out and speak.
And all those opportunities, I bet, will be helping your coaching business as well, because those people see you speak and they say, wow, how can I do that? So for coaches watching this, getting out and speaking is a really good opportunity to get people introduced to you, because then they want to learn from the master, right? And
well, let's hope they consider me a master. That would be nice. But you also get random opportunities from friends to appear on their video podcasts.
Yes, exactly right. That is so true. Well, Rich, how can people get in touch with you, and what would you like to make? I always like my guests to make some kind of offer that isn't out anyplace else, and just something special that you can give to our viewers here.
Sure. Well, you can go to richhopkins.com and go to the contact section. They just hit contact up on the top. It's a one-page website, so you don't have to go all over the place to contact me. And just email me, tell me you'd like to meet for a free 30-minute consultation about helping you discover, develop, and deliver your message. You don't have to write all that, but that's essentially what I want to do, is meet with you so that we can find out where it is you want to go and what you have to take with you as you go on that journey to give to the people that you're going to be speaking to. I would love to help you perfect that and get yourself in front of audiences. We meet, it's informal, and we find out if we like each other. And then after that, we can become coach and client, or we can part as friends.
Awesome. That's a great offer. I love the term "speak anyway." If you're wondering how in the world in this crazy time I can promote my business, grow my business, or heck, if you just have a message to get out there, a cause that you want to get out to the world and spread a message, there's no better way still today than public speaking. And Rich is your guy to take you there for sure. So we're going to end our second episode right here of Positive People Progressing. Next week, be sure to be here because I will have another special guest. His name is Greg Jameson, and he and I are going to talk about selling products online. Now, if you think people aren't buying things, just look at the craziness happening with Amazon and all of the sales that people are making through there. You can do the same with your own website, and we are going to talk about that specifically next week on Positive People Progressing. So thank you so much, Rich. You are doing an awesome job. You are being positive out there. You are progressing, and you are a great person for me to know, and I can't wait to see what happens over the next year for you. So thanks again for being with me.
Thank you, Marty.
We'll see you next week. Be positive out there, everybody.